Hello everyone. Uh, uh, Today is a big day as promised, and I'm happy to invite everyone who is joining in to this uh, live session from wherever you're watching, you're joining in. Yeah, just giving some little few minutes so that more people join the conversation. Yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. I'm seeing a lot of people are jumping in as I'm expecting some of you before you can start. Uh, just from wherever you're joining from, you can, just send in a hi and writing in the comment section where you're watching from. You're joining the live from where I'm in. Uh, sure. You can as well share the live with other friends to participate in this conversation because it is something that a conversation that I believe a big number of us would love to partake. So if you have friends that you think would be would find interest in this conversation of today, kindly you can share with them the link, and as we're expecting more people to join in, and we can move forward together. Thank you so much. Yeah, just like 4 more minutes, and we can start the conversation. But the ones already on the live, uh, you can just write in your name, you're watching from where. Yeah, it helps us connect, and get to learn about who is in the conversation. Yeah. Just expecting some people, and we can start the conversation that matters. We've been waiting for this big day, and I hope it is going to be interesting, as we're expecting some more people to jump in the conversation. You can just write in the comment section wherever you're watching from. Yeah, just by 11:10 we'll be starting the conversation. You can be sharing the link of the live with friends from wherever they are to join the conversation as well, because I believe it is a conversation that's potentially almost everyone would love to partake or to take part in. So you can share with friends. Thank you. Yeah, just 2 more minutes and we start the conversation. Just 2 more minutes and we start the conversation. Thank you, Gray. I've seen you from Uganda. Thank you for joining in. It's a pleasure having you in this conversation. I'm seeing a lot of people sending in texts. Thank you, Crystal Kinzo. I'm seeing you from Uganda as well. I'm seeing you. Thank you, James, from the US. I can see you as well in the conversation. So let's keep tuning in. By 11:10, we'll be starting the conversation. Yeah, thank you so much. Good. I think we can start the conversation. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Thank you for joining the conversation. You can just type in the comment section where you're watching us from or where you're joining the live from. It's so interesting. So that's we can know who is in the conversation and how it's going. Thank you, Mr. Baraka from Uganda, for joining the conversation. It's really going to be so interesting. So maybe I think we can start the conversation now. I'm called Julien Zigabe. I think a very big number of the people in the conversation now knows who I am. But just to give you a brief and a quick intro, I'm called Julien Zigabe. I'm a community developer and I'm an empowerment champion. Yeah, and I'm currently based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm studying. I can say I'm a student, by the way, but I'm excited to share and explore today with all of you a question that's both urgent and inspiring. Just something to remind all of us in this conversation. Today I'm celebrating my birthday, and I wanted to celebrate it in a special way, a little bit different. That's why I organized this conversation to bring all of us in to discuss as a way of celebrating my birthday, as well as hosting a conversation that really matters, that really speaks with volumes to me, with enables me to express the love of growth of the continent. So as you are in the conversation, you can be sending in your birthday wishes messages as well, because today is a special day to me, as I'm celebrating one more year plus to the little years that I have. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined in, everyone who has sent in a text, a message, a hi. It's interesting. So if you can push further to the conversation, the topic of this conversation is which specific industries or sectors do you find most promising for Africa's growth? So the conversation is an open conversation to everyone. It is a reflection to the, I can say, maybe the leaders, the aspiring entrepreneurs, the existing businessmen and women, the change makers, and of course, the young people, the future workforce. So the conversation of today is to bring to our attention, all of us, like everyone in this conversation from wherever you're watching, is to bring to our attention what do we think really are the sectors or the industry that has the potential or the ability to grow Africa as a continent, mostly focusing in the cluster of economy, because economic growth is an element that's a major contributor to development of the continent and to development of we, the people in the continent. And why this topic really matters. This topic really matters because by 2050, Africa's population will double by 2050, reaching over 2.5 billion. This is a very big workforce, and it's going to be the youngest. By the way, it's now the youngest continent with a median age of 19 years. So, meaning that in 25 years from now, the workforce that the continent will have, automatically it's a reflection of what we really need to do as the existing actors, the prospective entrepreneurs, policy makers, and of course as well as business people, because this is a very big potential for business, for growth as well, and for making a lot of money. You get so, and with urbanization as well, tech access, and a vibrant entrepreneurial spirit, Africa is poised for the boom if we invest in the right sectors. But a small question that really is of reflective to all of us in the conversation. In your opinion, from wherever you're watching, from wherever you've joined us from, which sectors should Africa focus on? This is an open question to all of us in the session. You can write in the comment section, in your opinion, which sectors should Africa focus on? Like there is variety and a very big list of sectors. We have agriculture and agribusiness, we have renewable energy, we have fintech and digital finance, we have education and education technology, we have healthcare and health technology, we have creative and cultural industries, tourism and ecotourism, electronic commerce and logistics, manufacturing and industrialization. So, like, in your opinion, from wherever you are participating or joining the live from, this is a question to all of us. Like, as we're starting the conversation and diving deep into the conversation, in your opinion, which sectors should Africa focus on? So you can, I think you can speak about this question vis-a-vis with your experience, your observation, depending on the environment you live. You get, like, for example, uh, like now I'm based in Nairobi, I'm in Kenya. From how I see the trends, the market trends, as well as the business environment, and what really can easily sell, that can easily influence growth, rapid growth of the economy from wherever you're watching this from, either it is in Africa, whatsoever Africa, in any country, either in the north, in the southern, in the eastern part of Africa. Just share your opinion in the comment section. Which sectors should Africa focus on? Because at the end of the day, we cannot identify sectors to be prioritized if we really don't know which ones really requires a lot of focus, a lot of investment, and allocation of multiple resources. And because this question is to help us reflect on the current investments. Do we really think we're investing in the right sectors? or are the sectors that are being invested in being given more attention, being allocated the resources they need to have exponential growth and potentially for the benefit of the continent and the people. So the conversation is to give us a reflection on what do we really think are the sectors that really matters, that requires exponential investments and have the potential and the power uh, to grow the continent and the future of it. So as you are moving forward, you can write your opinion in the comment section. Which sectors should Africa focus on from your own opinion as you, an individual, from your own perspective? Because I said this topic really matters because by 2050, the Africa's population will double to 2.5 billion, adding to the current population, and Africa being the youngest continent with a median age of 19 years old. So that means there is a very big opportunity, a huge workforce that requires, of course, to be used, to be given value. How do we think? How are we prepared? And how are we getting ready to face that? So this conversation is to give us an opportunity to get to reflect um, on which sectors, which industries requires more investment, requires more attention, requires to be developed in order to cover the gap, to respond to the needs or the demand that will be by that time. So as we move forward, extending other more appreciations to the people in the conversation so far. It's really interesting. And if you've just joined in, as I introduced, I said I'm called Julien Zigabe. And today I'm celebrating my birthday. It's a special day to me. And I wanted to do it in a special way, bringing this conversation that really matters to me to aware young generation, and of course to share recommendations and insights and views and opinions about what do we think for the continent, the future of the continent, focusing mostly in the economic growth aspects. Which sectors do we think really matters, requires more investment, more focus, and allocation of a lot of resources for exponential growth? So let's go to the setting of the context, because here we've understood why this topic really matters. If we can set a context of the conversation, what is the problem and what is the opportunity in this conversation? Africa faces challenges: unemployment, food security, energy deficits, but each of these is also a business opportunity. What do I mean? If there is no a problem, so there is no an opportunity for business. So as we are conversing in the context of Africa as a continent, so this is bringing back a reflection. What do I mean by a reflection? If you see the major challenges the continent is facing, looking at unemployment, food insecurity, energy deficits, and multiple other problems, each of these problems brings an opportunity for business. And another element of setting up the context, apart from seeing the problem as opportunities, there is the youth power. Over 70% of sub-Saharan Africa's population is under 30 years old. To a businessman, to an entrepreneur, to a prospective policymaker, to a prospective champion, this means we have the workforce to build and scale innovation locally. Because if 70% of the sub-Saharan population is under 30, this is, I mean, it is enough, it is sufficient resources we require locally to scale innovation and to build mega businesses. We have no excuses of saying we don't have the human resource of the population is under 30 years old. So that is a very big potential. But if we get opportunities that really best suits and responds to the need, we can see exponential growth of the continent. Another element that is very key in setting up that is technology leapfrogging. Uh, Africa's, Africa skipped, landlines to mobile phones. Because if you see now the Android penetration in Africa as a continent, regardless of the ups and downs and the things that we cannot ignore, we are skipping brick and mortar banks for mobile money, and that ability to leapfrogging outdated systems open massive opportunities. Like, you can just have a look around and pay attention to details, because at some point, just because we don't pay attention to details, this is the element that does not give us an opportunity to explore opportunities and to look at things in a different perspective. In setting up the context of exploring this conversation as an opportunity to get recommendations to find business, there are three key elements that I've just mentioned. There is problem to opportunity, the major problems that the continent is facing. I mentioned unemployment, food insecurity, energy deficits, and multiple other problems. Each one of a problem in this continent brings a business opportunity. You just need to give yourself time, pay attention to the details, and of course, explore a business venture. The second key element, the youth power. 70% of the sub-Saharan Africa's population is under 30 years old, a very big human potential that needs to be explored. The third element, technology leapfrogging, mobile phones. You need to understand that the shift has gone on a rapid scale, to the extent that people are not, as I'm saying, are not paying attention, cannot easily measure the growth and the speed of the growth. So let me take you to a sector by sector, uh, deep dive to enable us explore these elements. Like, let's speak about agriculture or agribusiness. But before we start the conversation of diving deep in a sector by sector deep dive, I'll take us back to the initial call. It is very important that we get the exposure and multiplication of opinions and ideas. As I said, to all of us in the conversation now, uh, you can comment in the you can write in the comment section your opinion. Which sector should Africa focus on, from your own opinion, your own observation, from the context of wherever you live, the community, the country, the city, your own. This is more personal, at your personal level, at your personal observation. In your opinion, which sectors should Africa focus on? Because we cannot decide on which ones to invest in when you really don't know which ones have the potential and the power for the growth of the continent. You can write in the comment section, in your own opinion, which sectors should the continent focus on. So let's explore about one of the sectors that is more, of course, that takes a very big portion: agriculture and agribusiness. In the major challenges that the continent is facing, there is food insecurity, and agriculture comes in as a key element to driving or to responding to this gap. Uh, Agriculture itself contributes 23% of Africa's GDP and employs 60% of the workforce. When I'm saying paying attention to details, what am I meaning? I'm meaning there are key details that someone who wants to create for the big community needs to pay attention to: the contribution, the market opportunity, and the consumer base and the workforce. Agriculture itself contributing 23% of the continent's GDP. That's a very big portion, a very big portion. In all the economic sectors that we might be having in mind that we know, agriculture itself takes 23%, and it covers 60% of the workforce. Of the workforce, employs 60% of the continent. And the 2.5 billion people on the continent, agriculture itself as a sector employs 60%. So the 40% is in other sectors. And as I said in the introduction, by 2050, the Africa's population will double. More 2.5 billion, it's projected to 50 billion in 25 years from now. So seeing the potential of the sectors that requires more investment, we can do forecasts as it's happening here, as you're exploring now a step by step. Yet only 6% of cultivated land is irrigated. What is the high potential in this? There is value addition. For example, drying, packaging, and exporting. Like looking at why keep consuming products that are coming in, yet we have the opportunity and the ability to also produce locally and take out. The Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, said someday, when you bring in products, that means you are importing in poverty. But when you take out, that is fortune, because you're creating employment. You cannot export what you didn't produce. That means when there is production, there is employment that was created, controlling the supply chain, the value chain of, automatically there is growth, there is employment that is created, and there is progress, and there is a fortune that is being created. Smart farming is drones, Internet of Things, and mobile apps. For example, in Kenya, there is iCow Kenya. I don't know how informed we can be, but I'm trying to expose to us the opportunities that the continent has. And in this stage where we are of diving deep on a sector by sector basis, it gives us the opportunity to have a reflection, to have the exposure to the opportunities and get recommendations and find and make decisions of what do you want to do, where do you want to go, and what really matters most. Africa can feed itself and export if productivity gaps are closed. I think we should note this down. If you have somewhere to write, you can note this down. As I'm exploring and taking us deep into the conversations on a sector by sector basis, the first sector that I'm discussing about now is agriculture and agribusiness. I said by introducing it, agribusiness contributes 23% of Africa's GDP and employs 60% of the workforce. Yet only 6% of cultivated land is irrigated. There is high potential in value addition, drying, packaging, and exporting. The statement like this is something you can take as you take home in the conversation from the first the first sector I'm discussing about of agriculture. So Africa can feed itself and export if productivity gaps are closed. This I'm trying to expose to us the opportunities that the continent has. Why this really matters? It is because in the conversation of today, it is mostly learning what sectors really matters. What are the sectors that has the highest potentials, that requires big investments, that needs allocations of resources for the growth of the continent. So the second element, the second sector I want us to explore is renewable energy. So renewable energy, we have over 600 million Africans lack electricity access. When I'm saying 600 million, I mean 600 million people lack access to electricity. And in the connected, I send you. Right. I'm disconnected now. I can disconnect now. It is. Good. I was going on the second sector. I finished agriculture. I said in agriculture, the take home in agriculture as a sector to everyone in the conversation, just take home this: Africa can feed itself and export if productivity gaps are closed. So when I'm saying productivity gaps are closed, this is inviting us to paying much attention to agriculture as a sector. Productivity gaps are production, value addition of the local produce, and as well as mostly focusing on value addition, not only exporting raw materials. We produce and export. It gives us the ability and the opportunity for exponential growth. So let's explore the second sector that I introduced is renewable energy. I said over 600 million Africans lack electricity access. I said by 2050, the Africa's population will double, will be at 50 billion, like a surplus of 2.5 billion people. And if with 2.5 billion people, 600 million lack access to energy, to electricity, in 25 years from now, when the population will double, you can make the math and see the opportunity. If you can go a little bit back to the introduction of the conversation, I said in this conversation, as we're trying to dive deep and exploring the sectors that requires investment and focus in Africa for the growth and of course for the growth mostly. I mentioned a few elements and I said every problem in Africa as a continent is a business opportunity. You just need to pay attention to the details, pay attention to what it brings, whatever it embeds, so that you can explore the business opportunities. So looking at the second element of renewable energy as a second sector, but we are rich in solar, hydro, wind, and biomass. But why don't we use them? Why 600 million people should live without electricity? What are we doing? Do we really think this is a sector that requires allocation of maximum resources because it has an ability of exponential growth, maybe a question we can ask ourselves: how can we move from just acknowledging the resources, the heritage Africa as a continent has, to actions? And or how can we take advantage of the resources and turn them into potential elements to empower individuals and build strong leaders? Because let me give you an exposure to the growth areas. Like the off-grid solar is a cluster that can have exponential growth. Like in Kenya, there is an example for one venture called N Copper. I think a lot of people might have interacted with it. It has scaled to different countries. It is tackling this problem of accessibility to electricity. So this brings the pay-as-you-go models. You know, the pay-as-you-go models, I think we're trying to implement, to look at the solutions that can be implemented and play in the favors of the local context and create solutions, and as well as sustainability. Because at the end of the day, we need sustainability for whatever solution we leverage or we decide uh, to implement. Whatever sector we think has the potential for growth, we need to measure the sustainability and the how should they call it, the 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 ability of the people to access the service. Because remember, even though you design a product that responds to our problem and you cannot afford it, automatically you cannot buy it. But when you use the local ingredients to produce locally, something that the local people can be fed, I see potentials of accessibility and affordability. Because when you export the raw materials, automatically they get manufactured, brought back to 3 times or 10 times the price of what could be if we decided to use them or to produce locally. We also need clean cooking solutions, carbon emissions. Clean cooking solutions are essential. There is climate change contribution as well as sustainability in the cooking. So the sector of energy, in actual sense, when you're saying some African countries to grow from low income to middle income countries, elements that can easily reflect growth of a country to a middle income. I think there is one element that is so important. There is a first element is education, because another second key element is industrialization, because you cannot just manufacture engineers in 2 days, in 1 week, or in 1 year. It's a gradual process. It's a very long process. If you don't give in time, it is very impossible for you to manufacture engineers. So the element of moving from low income countries to middle income countries, we need educated individuals, and after that, after having educated individuals, industrialization. When you have industrialization, so we can monopolize, we can as well feed the people who are feeding us from our own resources that we take there. They get they get the value additions. They're brought back to 10 times value compared to how we could trade it locally. So green energy equals to climate resilience plus jobs plus industrialization. Let's explore the third sector, that is fintech and digital finance. Africa is the global leader in mobile money. If you didn't know, mobile money was born in Kenya, in Nairobi. There is one that is called M-Pesa. In Uganda, there is mobile money, Momo. In West Africa, they as well have the Airtel money, the mobile money as well. If you go in Central Africa, it has evolved. But Africa being the leader in mobile money, maybe it is something we need to pay attention to as the Africans. What does that really mean to us for the first time in history, being the leading continent in a specific element that is manufacturing money? Like if you see M-Pesa, the one of Kenya, it handles more transactions than Western Union, like in research. What does that mean? That means that the potential of mobile finance is very huge in the continent. Because if on a daily basis, mobile transactions can handle more transactions than Western Union, automatically you understand the exposure, you understand the opportunity that is in that specific sector. So whenever I bring in a new sector, just take a step backwards to the introductory question. What sectors or industries do we think have the potential for Africa's growth? I've so far outlined agriculture, renewable energy, and now I'm talking about fintech and digital finance. This sector bridges the financial inclusion gaps, especially for informal workers, youth, and rural communities. Mobile finance is an element that brings interconnectedness of accessibility to finance from point A to point B, regardless of wherever you're found in the in the continent. I mean, what does this mean? You can take just you can observe people from the remote places, the far to reach areas in different communities. You can easily transact. You can send them money. They can send you money. There is facilitation of transactions. You can be in the capital city and transact money to someone, your sibling, your friend, whoever of your contact in the village, of which modern finances cannot do. Western Union cannot send money to someone in the village. Someone in the village cannot access other different financial services, but through mobile money, it is easier. It facilitates the transactions, the accessibility to money. So another question you can ask yourself, is this a sector that requires allocation of maximum resources to help it grow and serve the 2.5 billion people, or for thought? Let's go to the next sector, education and education technology. Africa itself as a continent will need 450 million new jobs by 2035. This is so exciting. 2035 is just 10 years from now, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like 10 years on the speed of how the world is going, 10 years is just like a full year to people who are building, who are transforming. So meaning in 10 years from now, Africa as a continent will need 450 million new jobs. How are we prepared for this demand? What are available opportunities? What are the measures, the solutions, the recommendations, the strategies that are in place that can be implemented to meet this target? This is again bringing back to our attention that there is need of paying much attention to details, because if Africa as a continent will need 450 million in jobs by 2035, just 10 years from now. So I don't know, what do we really think? and we cannot get this workforce be productive to the extent that we want once they don't have the skills required for the job market. We are the builders. We are the people building the human capital that we expect is going to serve to enable us meet our expectations and demand. Traditional education systems cannot scale fast enough. That is one fact that maybe we did not know. But education technology can open doors through various things, like, for example, online and blended learning. I mean, skills-based training platforms, TVET training, TVET and full training vocational education training institutions for trades, coding and practical skills, local content, and language apps matter for accessibility. Like Africa itself as a continent with 50 plus countries, that's already a multiplication of languages, and we need accessibility. When I speak accessibility, I mean the 2.5 billion people on the continent needs to understand, need to learn, need to acquire. How do we transfer? How do we extend the knowledge? Is through having accessibility in the language, because it starts with the language. Can you understand this? Can you understand? Can you speak our language so that we can give you the knowledge? So they're exposing to us the very big potential that the continent has. If you just pay attention to move from the if you move from the traditional education system, because it cannot scale enough to serve the demand. But the other options, education technology, is an alternate solution to help us cover this gap. So again, this takes us back to the initial question. Do you really think this is the sector that needs more investment or more focus? It is food for thought. Let us go to another industry, healthcare and health tech. We need one doctor for 5,000 people in many regions to access treatment. Do you understand what that really means? I said moving from low income country to middle income, we need education. Engineers cannot be manufactured in 24 hours. And now, saying that in order to meet the demand, one single doctor needs to work on 5,000 patients to balance. Can one person work on 5,000 people who are in situations that requires maximum attention? A question to ask ourselves. But I think innovation can bridge that gap, because like the mobile health apps, I don't know how many you know, but in Uganda we have one that unfortunately is in its I don't know how I can call its days, but Rocket Health is a reflection. If you come to Nairobi, we have I'm forgetting the name, but in Ghana there is Farm as well, doing the very same thing. The in Nairobi we have the Zuri Health. So these mobile health apps facilitates the accessibility or the interaction between doctors and patients using electronic devices. You don't need to move from a place to the hospital. The doctor can diagnose, attend to you on the mobile application. It facilitates to keep the digital health records, and as well as community health programs plus mobile diagnostics. From the conversation either on WhatsApp or on the mobile app, the doctor can diagnose you and recommend you, and I mean prescribe you the medicines you need to take. So the 5,000 people to one person, this one doctor cannot move to 5,000 people. But when I'm saying innovation is at the center, can easily bridge this gap. I was meaning, if we invest in innovation, innovating for the solutions in this specific sector, there is opportunity and possibilities of achieving this. Because if you see, it is very easy for one doctor to interact with 1,000 patients in a day using the mobile app than attending to 5,000 clients physically. It can't be measured, honestly. So this is another element, another exposure to an opportunity. Remember, I said at the very beginning, every problem in the African context is an opportunity to business. So you are the one to decide, to find out if which one really matters. Where do I need to venture myself? What can I do? Which solution can I bring in? And how can I solve this this demand? Another sector we have creative and cultural industry. Africa's creative exports are booming. Afrobeats, like we have the Nollywood in Nigeria. Fashion is taking the stage exponentially. Like but this year, just 25, Africa's entertainment and media industry could be worth around 10 billion plus dollars. Do you understand what does that mean? And when I speak creative and cultural industries, we're looking at the people in the art space. These are musicians, content creators, mostly the fashion, the dances, like the multiplication, the crafts and arts. This very year that you're in now, it is projected for the one of the continent to, to be worth 10 billion plus dollars. Do you really think this is something that you can pay attention to as someone who's exploring opportunities for business? Because this setup builds identity, expression, and youth employment. Let me give you an example how. If you go across social media platforms, you go on YouTube, you go on TikTok, you go on X, previous Twitter, you go on Facebook, you'll find millions of content creators. These are young people, youth from different regions, countries in the continent, creating content on a daily basis, educating, some are entertaining, some are marketing, some are raising awareness, and from just that very small practice, earning millions of dollars. So I don't know what you think, but in the key problems the continent is facing, we looked at unemployment. And this sector itself is employing. I don't know if it is something we can pay attention to, we can allocate more resources to, and have policies that are at least sorry for that. So let's go to, let me finish with the creative industry. Areas of the creative industry have like the streaming platforms like Boomplay, we have Showmax, we have local fashion exports, intellectual property protection and monetization tools for content creators. And this sector builds identity, expression, and youth employment. So I'm saying this because in the previous days, you could just get contents, they're not protected, you don't get benefit out of them, and monetization tools were not like as accessible as today. But today, you can create a content, you get the right of ownership, and it is yours in case it wants to be reproduced, reshared. There is need for consent, and that's already, it's a symbol of making money in one or the other. Let's see another sector that is very key: tourism and ecotourism. Before COVID-19, tourism was equals to 8 point around 5% of Africa's GDP. Just tourism, exploring the beauty of the nature and everything that the nature has. The Africa's internet penetration is now over 40%, and it is growing fast. Booming platforms like Jumia, Wasoko, and Sandy, like you can see how rapid growth in different elements happening in the continent. And opportunities in tourism as an industry, you have like cultural tourism. You can, when I speak cultural tourism, this is more of the African culture, changing the narrative, re-narrating the African story. So, the tourists, enthusiasts, getting them to understand, to learn about the Africanicity, what is Africa, what is good about Africa, and what is the story behind Africa. You can as well do the conservation travel. These are more of I can say private. You can create your own a space somewhere. You create just an environment can accommodate a few elements. I mean, animals and some specific species to have them somewhere, and people can come into to explore. Like some countries have conservations. People, corporates, businessmen as well have their own. So it's also an opportunity you can explore. There is also digital tourism platforms, but this requires peace, infrastructure, and strategic branding. Because I cannot come in to tour in a country that is in a pre-war stage or on a post-war stage. We are not certain of what can happen at any moment. So there is an element of having peace in the continent to facilitate specific and other different industries to easily work. And building of infrastructure spoken here. We look at road networks, because in most cases, the tourism destinations requires long travels. So if we don't have road networks, it cannot really facilitate this business, this transaction. And also branding. How do we sell to the global community the beauty that we have in our countries? We have strategic branding approaches. Do you have skills individuals who can tell the stories, like the real stories? Can we tell our own stories as we, the people, understand them better than people claim themselves experts? It is a sort for thoughts. Industries are many, like extremely many, but there is e-commerce and logistics, and we have manufacturing and industrialization. This is one of the biggest industries that I think we need to pay more attention to, because it is one of the elements that shifts the country from low to middle income: manufacturing and industrialization. If you see to the Africa imports nearly like around $500 billion of goods annually. Do you understand what does that mean? $500 billion. But local manufacturing can create jobs, reduce dependency, and can grow exports. What are the opportunities we have? Agro-processing factories, textiles and fashion as well, and local construction materials. There is something that we need to pay attention to details. And when you don't pay attention to details, this is what happens. If we can import nearly $500 billion annually, $1 trillion, what does that mean to, as someone who needs to decide, needs to explore a sector to venture in? So I think I have highlighted some of the key sectors, key industries that are from my own opinion, observation, because I said you can write in the comments and on your own opinion as you at an individual level, which sectors do you think requires more focus? Africa needs to focus on, I mean. I've tried to outline a few sectors that on my side, I feel are so key, and once they're given more attention is paid to them, resources are allocated to them, we can see exponential growth in the continent. We can take growth to higher rates. You can still explore to your own way which ones you think really needs that big portion of investment. As I'm wrapping up today's conversation, as I'm concluding this live session, I'm going to leave all of us here with just 3 questions that you're going to be asking yourselves after this conversation. The first one is, which of the sectors I'm from mentioning are you involved in? Are you an existing actor, an inspiring one, or you can recommend? The second one is, what does your country need to tap into its potential? This is now we're trying to expand the horizons. Go back to you. I don't know, you're watching from which country, but what do you think your country needs to tap into its potential as a country? I personally, I'm originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but answering to this question of what do I think my country needs to tap into its potential, I'll share it in a video or as a recommendation post this live session. And the third question is, have you seen or built a local solution in any of these industries? Are you a local builder? Are you building something, or are you thinking of starting something? So these are the 3 questions that I think our take homes. You can ask yourself, which of the sectors are you involved in? What do you think your country needs to tap its fullest potentials? Lastly, have you seen or built a local solution in any of the industries I mentioned? I mean. So the key takeaways you can go with is agriculture, energy, fintech, and education technology are among the top 4 scalable sectors. Because we need to understand when we are building ventures, we need to pay much attention to this element of, am I building a scalable business? Can this business be transacted cross-border? Because if it cannot scale, that means it cannot grow. And you're mostly focusing on growth of the continent economically. So growing economically, that means the business itself can scale. Let me give you a tip. Do you know why largest companies owned by Americans have colonized the global market? This is the reason. The Americans, when they're building business, they are educated to build for the big audience. They build businesses in terms of platforms. They don't build businesses in terms of just a single unit. When I mean a platform, is building for people to come in and find units and transact business. So that's scalability. You can take the example of Facebook, of YouTube, of Amazon, and other multiple companies. These people build platforms for us to come and find units in the platforms and get for us a small market. So if you're building now moving forward, think of building for the big audience. Build a platform. Build something that can be scaled. build the business that can scale. Because if the business cannot scale, then potential for growth is limited and it's unforeseen. I've said agriculture, energy, fintech, education, technology are among the top 4 scalable sectors. So pay attention to details as we are wrapping up this conversation. And Africa's future isn't about copying others. It's about building local, inclusive, and sustainable systems. Building for our own things that our people are able to consume, things that really resonate as all things serves the local audience, things that brings the local values. Because Africans have a lot of cultural attachments, so it is something that we need to pay attention to as well. So as I'm closing, my final remark is Africa's transformation won't be outsourced. It will be built by us, the youth, through unity, innovation, and purpose. So let us lead with integrity and solve real problems with bold ideas. Thank you, everyone, for being and taking part in this conversation. It's been a pleasure hosting all of you, sharing perspectives and sharing your views in the comment section. In the introduction, I said I brought up a conversation specifically today is my birthday. I'm celebrating 1+ years, and I wanted to celebrate it in a different way, in a special way that I feel is more special to me, bringing a conversation that matters, raising awareness, and giving us exposure that we need to pay attention to. And this is the closure of this conversation. I thank everyone for taking part in this conversation, and I'm looking forward to interacting more and possibility of hosting more conversations that matters, and why not sessions on specific things. So it is anything, a question or a recommendation, you can just inbox me or you can write it in the comments, and I'll be happy to respond or to share recommendation. Thank you. You have a good day. Enjoy, and hope you have fun and lead with purpose and integrity. Thank you. Cheers, and have a well start of the weekend. Bye.